Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In 2022, NASA announced that it was commissioning an independent study team to examine UAPs. The NASA team is comprised of scientists across different fields, as well as former astronauts and pilots. In May, the independent study team held at its first public meeting, which included the perspectives from NASA senior leaders, as well as perspectives from the Department of Defense and intelligence agencies. The NASA study team is also expected to release its first report pretty soon, and I think it's safe to say that we all eagerly await its results. Mr. Graves, how might NASA's research influence the commercial industry regarding safety in UAP?
I think NASA has a big role to play as far as commercial aviation safety, and it's one of their original charges as an organization. One of the recommendations that have been put forward is to utilize their existing aviation safety reporting system to serve as a short-term fill and trusted platform for pilots that want to report on UAP. It also has built-in analytics capability and is funded by Congress.
Gotcha. And also, Mr. Graves, are there any other industries that may be influenced by the NASA research on UAPs? And if so, how so?
Well, I think there is a large swath of commercial capabilities that could be brought to bear on this topic, from space-based or ground-based sensor systems that are available open source or through commercial marketplaces. And I think NASA's work, as they work to identify and highlight specific parameters that can be found, we can take that information and promulgate this through the public sector so that we can have more open conversation about what we're seeing.
In 2020, the Department of Defense released several videos of UAPs, including Mr. Freier's experience, U.S. Navy pilots that recorded footage. In 2021, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence released a preliminary report on UAP events. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson stated that NASA would begin to investigate these events. In fact, I sit on Science, Space, and Technology Committee, and when we were doing a hearing with the NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, I asked, why NASA needed to be fully funded, and there were many great reasons, but one of them was actually had to do with UAPs. He actually mentioned, is there life out there? I don't know. And so either way, these actions ultimately led NASA to assemble the independent study team that I mentioned earlier. Also in 2021, Harvard University stood up the Galileo project to research and examine the origins of UAP. So it seems like both, from NASA and in the higher education community, because of the work that y'all have done and people standing up, I think we're seeing some of that stigma slowly going away. Mr. Freier, do you believe that military pilots feeling empowered to share their UAP experiences has directly impacted the scientific community's research goals on this topic?
I would say yes. I would say that, starting in 2017, when it actually came out, it took that stigma away. I mean, I've talked to multiple senators who said prior to that, if you'd have mentioned UAP, you'd have been laughed off the hill. And now we're sitting here today for a public testimony on what's actually going on. I'm hoping that this curve will be more of an exponential, and we'll get more and more transparent to the level that we can.
Yeah, and I mean, it's important. I couldn't imagine, I'm not a pilot, but I used to fly gliders in Civil Air Patrol. Yeah.
Pilot?
And so either way, I mean, I couldn't imagine, being in the glider and seeing something, and then not feeling like I had the agency to talk about it. Mr. Graves, can you discuss the importance of seeking scientists to sit on your advisory board?
Absolutely. I think ultimately this is going to be a scientific problem. And not only that, it's also an engineering problem. I've been working with the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics to help them stand up a UAP integration committee to help integrate their engineering prowess into this problem. And so, yes, very much, I think this is an engineering and scientific problem as much as a national security problem.
And how might Congress help to facilitate partnerships between the scientific community and the UAP focus groups within government?
Well, I think one of the things they can do is to have these types of hearings to communicate to the public that this is a topic of interest. I think that there is a pseudo-market, if you will, of interested capabilities and talent that want to approach this topic, and we're seeing that start to grow now. So I think continued conversation, reduction of stigma is going to allow that to flourish and allow answers to help generate themselves.
100%. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you for your work. I think it's important that we keep our top scientific minds focused on this issue and look for ways to increase collaboration. Thank you so much. I yield back.
Mr. Comer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me say I want to thank you for having this hearing, and I want to thank Mr. Burchett and Ms. Luna for leading this hearing. And with that, I yield my 5 minutes to Mr. Burchett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to direct this, I believe, to Mr. Grush, but if any of you all feel like you need to jump in, just jump right in. We're good. Has the U.S. government become aware of actual evidence of extraterrestrial, otherwise unexplained forms of intelligence? And if so, when do you think this first occurred?
I like to use the term non-human. I don't like to denote origin. Keeps the aperture open, both scientifically. Certainly, like I've discussed publicly previously, 1930s.
Good. Can you give me the names and titles of the people with direct first-hand knowledge and access to some of this crash retrieval, some of these crash retrieval programs, and maybe which facilities, military bases that would the recovered material would be in? And I know a lot of Congress have talked about we're going to go to Area 51, and I mean, there's nothing there anymore anyway. It's just and we move like a glacier as soon as we announce it. I'm sure the moving vans would pull up, but please.
I can't discuss that publicly, but I did provide that information both to the Intel committees and the Inspector General.
And we could get that in the skiff if we were allowed to get in a skiff with you. Would that be probably what you would think?
Sure, if you have the appropriate accesses, yeah.
What special access programs cover this information, and how is it possible that they have evaded oversight for so long?
I do know the names. Once again, I can't discuss that publicly and how they've evaded oversight. In a closed setting, I can tell you the specific tradecraft used.
All right. When do you think those programs began, and who authorized them?
Yeah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praises and all honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakah Quadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds out there in the world, preaching in truth and sincerity, out there in the field, risking your lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, you Akwatium, who listen and learn on your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. Shalom. This your brother Ram Yahawada with the lesson. And of course, I showed you the first clip, so obviously we're going into the chariots, right? And this is Zechariah 5:1. Then I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, which means to look again, to feast your eyes, look, pay attention, right? Carefully, right? With care, with, you know what I mean? A flying roll, and a roll, right? Almost like a bread roll, like they was basically saying a tic tac. A tic tac is like almost like a oval type shape, whatever, and kind of like a bread, a roll. It's like an oval type shape, right? So, and he said unto me, what seest thus? And I answered, I see a flying roll. The length thereof is 20 cubits, and a cubic is 18 inches, give or take. Some people say it's 20 inches, but most things I looked up, it said a cubic is 18 inches. And the breadth thereof 10 cubits. Then said he unto me, this is the curse that goeth forth over the face of the whole earth, man. So what? That's why they're afraid. They're having these meetings. They're conspiring. You know what I'm saying? Conspiracy, right? Con meaning with, conspire meaning breath, and they're having these meetings, right? Dealing with their council, right? Right? It says, for everyone that stealeth, right? And no one stole more than a self-proclaimed so-called white man, whether if he's French, Canadian, whether if he's French from Europe, German, English, Portuguese, Spanish, any Edomite, even the so-called Romans, right? Those Romans, those Russians, those Edomites, those down over there down under in Australia, they're thieves, right? They stealeth, shall be cut off, and those are what? Edomites, and the Edomites are going to have to be cut off as on this side according to what? Your deeds, your act. You're going to reap what you sowed, right? And everyone that sweareth, right? And of course, when you deal with the Edomite, you go into their court system, they swear upon the Bible, right? They'll say that America is a Bible-believing nation, right? So they swear. You know what I mean? They swear you in as an officer. They swear you in as this and that. You swear allegiance to the flag, right? Of the United States of America, right? You swear. Those that swear shall be cut off on that side according to it, right? What side? The so-called land of the living. You're going to be cut off from the land of the living, man. You're going to no longer be breathing upon this place. The Lord's going to turn America into a desert, man. Right? And I will bring forth, saith Yahweh of hosts, which means armies, and shall enter into the house of the thief, right? And that's what America, the self-proclaimed so-called white man, not just America, but just all Edomites, but mostly dealing with the American Edomite. You're a thief. The Lord said that Satan roams around as a roaring lion, seeking what he may steal, kill, and destroy. And that's what they did. That's the thief, right? So the Lord's going to enter into the house of that thief who raped, robbed, and murdered to get America, Canada, South America, Cuba, Colombia, all these other places, the places where you have the Israelites in captivity, right? It says and into the house of the thief, and into the house of him that sweareth falsely, right? Because what do you swear falsely? You wish, right? You swear that you're a Englishman. You swear you're French. You swear that you're an American. You swear you're everything but an Edomite. You don't want to take on that you're the Edomites. You run from that, right? All right. And by the Lord's name, right? The letter J is newly created, and you add and took from the book, and in this Bible it has these J's and these vowels that's never been according to the Hebrew, right? Or even according to any language. There's no J's even in Greek, right? Right? Which the Romans spoke. They spoke Greek, Latin. There was no J's in that. So how do you come up with that, right? Newly created. So it says but that's towards the Lord's name. So that's blasphemy of the Holy Spirit, and shall remain in the midst of his house, and shall consume it with the timber thereof and the stones thereof. See, the Lord's going to turn this into a desert. He's going to wipe it completely out, right? The elements shall melt with fervent heat. Having these all these councils, right? Because the Lord said that he's going to visit them. It says Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 8. After many days, thus shall be visited, right? And he's being visited by these chariots. So now he's like, oh yeah, things is getting real. Now they got to go into what? Operation Warp Speed, right? So after many days, thus shall be visited in the latter days, and that's the time that you're in right now. We're in the latter days. Thus shall come into the land that I brought back from the sword, and it is gathered out of many people, right? Because the Israelites are scattered amongst all the nations. The Lord said he should make us small amongst the heathen, right? Which by scattering us and dividing, there's a thing called what? Divide and conquer. And when you're technically the largest nation on the planet, but you're divided, that you're so-called Hispanic and you're black and you're this and you're that, and then they push this this narrative of being racist, and especially to the so-called black man. Everybody can be racist to him. Everybody can call him a nigger, a mate. Everybody can. So there's racism amongst all, but there's the one everybody hates, right? But That's the person who's coming back, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, is a so-called black man, which is really from the tribe of Judah, man. A so-called dark-skinned brown man who's really from the tribe of Judah, right? To come back to get his children, man, right? Of you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans who repent and come back and realize your power, right? Because he's gonna gather out of many people, right, from all over the world. The niggas you love to hate, but against the mountains of Israel, right? Because those are the Israelites, which I've been always waste, right? Because we always been in the ghettos, the barrios, the reservations, right, in the low place. But it is brought from out of the nations, right? So we'll be brought back from out of all the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them, right? It's all the elect. Because this is why they're having a council like this right here, right?
UAPs. I can't go beyond what I've already stated publicly in my News Nation interview because it touches other sensitivities.
Okay. I'll yield the balance of my time back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Fox?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank our witnesses for being here today. Mr. Garouche.
Yeah, so this is Isaiah chapter 47, verse 13 in the NIV. Just all your counsel, right? Because ultimately that's what they're doing, having a lot of counsel. All your counsel you have received has only worn you out, and ultimately they're just wearing themselves out. They're having all this different councils. They're having the things. Oh, let's talk about the UFO. Let's talk about this. Let's have our summit meetings. Let's do this. Let's do that. What's going on? You know, they're doing all these different things. You know, and it says, let your astrologers, right, speaking to NASA, tell us what's going on. Have you seen any of the pilots? Give us all the pilots who've seen UAP sightings and give us all details, word for word. Break it down, right? So they can have some type of way they could so-called prepare themselves to battle against Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? Come forth, those stargazers, right? Because they're always making, predictions, right? And that's all he could ever really do. That's why everything's a theory, right? Even to tell you that you're a so-called nut job, a theory is not really anything. It means nothing. Maybe it is, maybe it ain't. Right? That's what a theory is. That's what a theory actually means. Yes, no, maybe so. But you'll look at they're conspiracy theories. But even in that sense, maybe there isn't a conspiracy. But that's something you should know. Inquiring minds should want to know. Yeah, the predictions month to month, let them save you from what is coming upon you, right? And that's what all the chariots, it's the curse that goeth through the whole earth. That's what they want to know. Yeah, so this is Isaiah 47 and 13. I liked it, and it's this GNB version, right? The Good News Bible version. It says, you are powerless. See, ultimately, that's what it is. Esau, Edom, from the so-called Russians to the so-called Americans, all you Edomites, you're all powerless. And these are your top Edomites, Russia and America, but they're still powerless. You are powerless in spite of spite of the advice you get. Let your astronomers come forth and save you, which is not going to happen. You're not going to be saved. And this the Lord basically, mocking you, right? Those people who study the stars, see, they out there studying the stars, which is like NASA, and of course Russia have their people who study the stars, right? Which that verse that I read about how they're going to be visited, that's talking about Gog and Magog in the last days. But that's talking about all the Edomites. You're getting visited in the last days, right? Gog and Magog, and even especially what? Basra, who map out the zones of the heavens and tell you from month to month what is going to happen to you, right? They may say, it's going to rain here, you're going to have an eclipse here, you're going to have this and this and that, but they're also looking out for what? For the chariots. As you can see, they've been doing that, right? Now, this is the first time they're actually starting to try to make it public, because you don't have a choice, because the Lord is visiting, right? This is Second Ezra chapter 9, verse 1, and it says that, well, he answered me, it ain't and, he answered me then and said, measure thus the time diligently in itself, and that's ultimately where we're at. So not only are the prophets measuring the time diligently, so are these Edomites, man. They're losing their prognosticators, their astronomers, their stargazers. They're using NASA, they're using their military, they're using all their intel, right? Their intelligence, right? So they're measuring the time diligently in itself, right? So this time that what they know that they got but a short time. So now it's what? It's Operation Warp Speed, right? And when Salakia thus seeth part of the signs pass, right? Which we're starting to see that, man. They're pushing the MOTB, right? World War I, World War II has passed. We're pretty much in the third wall, right? You got pestilence upon the earth, right? You got the men loving themselves, the love of many waxing cold. You got earthquakes, diverse places. You got all the things that Yahushua said before time that would happen, which it's in this verse right here when you meet Matthew 24. But I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. But I mean, if you read it, it's pretty much right here. I'm just gonna go to the point. It says and when you see when thus seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, right? Then shall thus understand it is the very same time, right? The end time, the latter days, the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit, right? Through the chariots, through the angels, while you think it's little green men from Mars or whatever. Because if it was those type of things, don't you think they would have been invaded the world? They would have been took over, and you would have been having to speak some type of alien language, or maybe not speak at all. You would already been put in subjection under some aliens or something. If that was the case, no, it proves that the matter of fact, I'm gonna have to do it. Visit the world which he made. Yes, so this is Amos chapter 9, verse 8. It says, behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. The eyes of the Most High power, right, are upon the sinful kingdom. And there's no kingdom in this time and age or this generation more sinful than America, Babylon the Great, Nineveh, Egypt, right? This place that incorporate all the other empires that was before it all in one. It's the most wicked, what you call America, right? But the Lord has always done that. That's why all the sinful kingdoms got wiped out. Go all the way back to when the Babylonians ruled, when the Medo-Persian Empire ruled. The eyes of the Lord were upon them, man. When Egypt ruled, when Rome ruled, when Greece ruled, when Rome ruled, and now you're in the second leg of Rome, which is America, Babylon the Great. And the eyes of the Lord is still upon the sinful kingdom, man. It hasn't changed. And I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, right? And this time, this is dealing with America, because America is going to be wiped completely out, going to turn into a desert, man. The Lord said He's going to leave not even nor blade of grass nor branch. It's going to be nothing left here, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith Yahweh, right? And only the elect is going to be saved out of America, to make sure that He don't destroy completely, utterly the house of Jacob, through saving through the elect. Yeah, and when they see these UAPs, right? Daniel 7:9, I beheld till thrones were cast down. So that's all these these militaries around the world who got the astrologers and stargazers, looking for the chariots and the UAPs, in which every military is out there looking. Every military is already shooting at the angels. So we're already in that time, pretty much. So it says and that's the Lord telling the end from the beginning right there, because the end of this is all you militaries are going to be cast down, all you nations are going to be cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, which is the Most High. He's without time, right? He don't have a beginning or ending. He's without time. He's always existed. And the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment, right? His garment was white as snow, right? He's not a white man. The garment, right, is white as snow. And the hairs of his head, right? The hairs on his head and the hairs on his face, and the hairs of his head is like the pure wool. The throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fires, right? The chariots, right? What they call UAPs or UFOs. A flame, a fiery stream issue and come forth from before him. Thousands ministers, right? Which are talking about the angels. So they it's gonna come a time where the Lord is gonna visit the world that He made, and it's gonna be undeniable, unrefutable, because you're gonna have thousands ministers, which are angels, unto Him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before Him. The judgment was set, right? Because it's time for the Lord to judge the world. He's going to visit the world that He made. And the books were open. Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 12, verse 7. And there was war in heaven, right? So they're watching the heavens, the stars, all this. The astronomers, the NASA, is watching this thing. They're all their they're aviators, the people who fly in planes. They're supposed to report every time they see one of these things, the UAPs, which are actually angels. So what? It's going to be eventually what? It's going to be a war in heaven. There was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, which is dealing with the Roman Empire, because now we're in the second leg of Rome, and now Rome, that second leg of Rome, is in a place where they're because back then they had the most advanced technology then, and also they have the most advanced technology now as far as concerning what to be the sword of the world, man, to have that blessing that Isaac gave him, right? And the dragon fought against the angels, right? So that proves that that's dealing with the angels. Those what you call UFOs or UAPs are the angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found anymore in heaven, right? So you're gonna be wiped out, like so utterly destroyed. What the Lord said, man. Yeah, so this is Daniel chapter 12, verse 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And he's speaking to Daniel, and Daniel is an Israelite, right? I believe Daniel might have been a Levite or something. I'm not quite sure, but he's definitely an Israelite. And there shall be a time of trouble, which is what Jacob's trouble, right? Which ultimately is going to be the trouble of the whole world. Why? Because Jacob is scattered around the world, and there shall be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation, right? And this trouble is going to be like trouble that's never been, right? Because you got things that were never invented before. You never had laser weapons. You never had AIs, and you know what I mean. You know the just the things that they have now, and you know, and the Lord is gonna release things you never seen before, because even just seeing the chariots, that was something that the Lord will cloak the chariots, and you wouldn't really want to, you really didn't see, and you know, but you're gonna be able to see them unmistakably. You know, these different wild beasts, all different things are gonna happen during that time. It says, such as never was since there was a nation, even the same time, and at that time thy people shall be delivered, right? Dealing with the elect. Every one that shall be found written in the book of life, right? Which is dealing with the elect, dealing with the nation of Israel. This is Zechariah chapter 6 verse 1. And I turned and lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots, right? Which what you call UFOs. These are chariots or UAPs out before the 2 mountains, right? And these are flying mountains, and it tells you in 2nd Ezra 13 that the Lord, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, which his real name is Yahushua, flew upon a mountain, and it speaks about the end when he's coming back to destroy. He's going to fly upon a flying mountain, which mountains don't fly. So it's basically telling you that that chariot, the UFO UAPs, is going to be huge as a mountain, or maybe even bigger, right? But a mountain, you know, is a good analogy, or whatever you want to call it, a good, you know, way to say it to give you understanding. And mountains don't fly, right? Between 2 mountains, and the mountains were mountains of brass, right? See, and mountains ain't brass, right? And they're flying. And the first chariot were red horses, right? Horses represents what? Power. And in the second chariot, black horses, right? And horses what represent power. And the third chariot, white horses, right? Which still represent what? Power, which is dealing with the angels. And the fourth chariot, grizzle and bay horses, right? Which is representing power, which is the chariots, which are angels, not dealing with aliens, right? You're dealing with the angels. Then I answered and said unto the angel, right? Because that's who he's that talked with me, what are those, my Lord? And the angel answered and said unto me, these are the 4 spirits, right? Which are angels of the heavens, which go forth from standing before the Most High Yahweh, right? Right, and his only begotten Son, if you don't know, which is Yahushua, of all the earth, right? So these chariots, when they come back, which they're all over the earth now, but when the second coming of who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, Yahushua, you're going to see them, and you're going to see 1,000 and 10,000 times thousands of UAPs, which are actually angels from the Most High, who's coming to make war with you governments. So with all that, I want to give all praises and honor and all glory unto Yahweh, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakal Quadash, Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds, preaching the truth with sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect. The elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold through their father. Shalom, to you sisters, you Akwathium, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. And a Baba Ball.